They can't live with each other, but they can't live without each other either. Ohm and Nanon's relationship horoscope shows a bond that is deep, intense, and full of surprises. Let's find out together what astrology reveals about them. Hello stars, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Beatrice. I am a professional astrologer and huge BL fan, and today I'm analyzing the relationship horoscope of Ohm and Nanon Korapat. I will talk about their compatibility and how they influence each other in a few minutes, but first let's take a look at their individual birth charts, because their natal charts show us what kind of people they like and how they interact in relationships, be it friendships, romantic relationships, or a business partnership. We're starting with Nanon, who was born on the 18th of December 2000 in Bangkok, Thailand. He is a Sagittarius, energetic, curious, and adventurous. He brings humor and optimism to friendships or other kinds of relationships, thrives on spontaneity, and dislikes drama or clingy behavior. In love, he seeks excitement and growth rather than routine, needing a confident, independent partner who respects his freedom. He naturally attracts attention and doesn't handle jealousy well. In business, Nanon is a visionary who thrives on creativity but struggles with rigid structures. He works best with flexible, energetic partners who match his enthusiasm. His Sagittarius Sun and Mercury Chiron conjunction make him outspoken, sometimes blunt, but always well-meaning. He enjoys deep conversations but may have struggled with self-expression at some point in the past. His Venus in Aquarius draws him to unique, independent individuals. He values intellectual connections over emotional intensity, preferring relationships that start as strong friendships. Also in Aquarius, a Neptune Black Moon Lilith conjunction gives him an air of mystery and creativity, making him unconventional in both love and career. With Mars in Libra, he is charming and diplomatic, avoiding conflicts unless necessary. He prefers when others make the first move in relationships, but is loyal and fun once committed. In his chart, air is the predominant element with water lacking. That makes him highly social and intellectual, though lacking water means he processes emotions more through logic than intuition. Because he lacks water, he doesn't always process emotions in a deep, intuitive way. He may rely more on logic than feelings, and sometimes he might not notice when someone is upset. He's not cold, he just understands emotions more through words than through instinct. That means that people around him must speak about how they are feeling, otherwise he might not understand what's going on. Ohm, on the other hand, is a mix of fire and water, strong, determined, and passionate, but also deeply sensitive. He was born on the 22nd of March 2000 in Bangkok, Thailand. With his Sun and Mars both in Aries, he is full of energy, passion, and has a bold approach to life. As a friend, he is loyal and fun, thriving on spontaneity and directness. He dislikes hesitation and prefers people who can keep up with his energy. In love, he is straightforward. If he likes someone, he makes it clear. However, he values independence and dislikes emotional pressure. He is drawn to confident, spontaneous partners who match his fire. In business, he takes initiative, thrives in fast-paced environments, and works best with partners who bring fresh ideas and respect his autonomy. Despite his Aries boldness, Mercury and Venus in Pisces soften him, making him intuitive, romantic, and deeply caring. He values meaningful connections but may struggle to express emotions clearly. This mix of fire and water makes him protective and emotionally invested in relationships. I also noticed a T-square in his chart that highlights his inner conflict between independence and deep emotional bonds. He craves freedom but also longs for genuine care and connection. One key aspect in his chart is a square formed by Mars and the asteroid Pallas Athena, and please remember this aspect as it will play an important role later during the video. These two have a special placement in Ohm's birth chart as they are at 29 degrees in Aries and 29 degrees in Cancer respectively. The 29th degree of every zodiac sign, also called an erratic degree, is special, and many celebrities, very rich or otherwise successful people, have planets at 29 degrees. A celebrity who had his Mars at 29 degrees in Aries, exactly like Ohm, is Apple co-founder Steve Jobs. In Ohm's case, we have Mars, the god of war, in the quick-tempered and aggressive sign of Aries, forming a challenging aspect to his Pallas Athena. This is the female counterpart of Mars. She is the goddess of war. But she also represents wisdom. While she is strong and bold, she is not impulsive like Mars, but wise and thoughtful. She is placed in Cancer, meaning that Ohm has a deep emotional intelligence. His strength lies in nurturing, protection, and creating emotional safety, whether in personal relationships or larger communities. However, Mars and Pallas Athena clash in Ohm's birth chart. While he is sensitive and deeply values protecting others, Mars makes him impulsive, sometimes to the point of hurting people with his words or actions. This aspect suggests that he tends to bottle up emotions, leading to sudden outbursts. Ohm tries to be considerate and keeps much of his frustration to himself, but once he reaches his limit, everything spills over. When that happens, he might unleash everything he's been holding back, overwhelming others with the intensity of his emotions. With the two being in an anoretic degree, these outbursts could influence Ohm's life or destiny. He must find a way to control his energy, otherwise it could destroy important relationships that he has with people around him. Just looking at their birth charts, we can see that Ohm and Nanon share a love for adventure, independence, and deep conversations, making their connection exciting and dynamic. Both thrive on spontaneity and dislike feeling restricted, so they naturally respect each other's need for space. However, their emotional styles differ. Nanon is logical and light-hearted, while Ohm is passionate and deeply feeling. This could lead to misunderstandings, with Nanon brushing things off while Ohm takes them to heart. Their bond works best when they balance fun with emotional depth, allowing Ohm's warmth to soften Nanon's detachment and Nanon's free spirit to keep Ohm inspired. But let's dive deeper into their compatibility by comparing their birth charts. This is a thing called synastry that shows us how they interact with each other and how they influence each other. The inner circle is Nanon and the outer one is Ohm. Ohm's moon is right next to Nanon's Mars, which means their energy together is intense. Nanon makes Ohm feel alive, excited, and sometimes even frustrated. There's a natural attraction, but also moments where emotions get heated. At the same time, Ohm's moon and Nanon's sun work well together, so despite any ups and downs, there's a sense of understanding and support. Ohm's sun and Nanon's Lilith have a special link that makes things feel a little wild. There's something intriguing and magnetic between them. Ohm might see a rebellious, untamed side of Nanon that is both attractive and a little unpredictable. When it comes to their feelings, there's deep intensity. Nanon's Venus and Ohm's Pluto create a strong pull, like they are drawn together in a way that feels fated. But Ohm's Venus and Nanon's Pluto clash, which means this connection isn't always smooth. They can be obsessed with each other at times, but also struggle with power dynamics. Sometimes one wants control and the other resists. Communication between them can be tricky. Ohm's Mercury and Nanon's Jupiter form a square, which can mean a lot of exciting conversations, but also misunderstandings. They might sometimes exaggerate things or get carried away in debates. They inspire each other to think bigger, but they also need to be careful not to overwhelm each other with too many opinions at once. Nanon's Lilith sits right on Ohm's south node, which means they might have known each other in a past life, or at least their bond feels like it has history. There's something familiar but also a little challenging about their connection. Nanon might stir up old patterns in Ohm's life, pushing him to grow and change, but this is not always comfortable. Ohm's Jupiter and Nanon's Neptune don't always see eye to eye, which means they might have different dreams or expectations. Ohm might be more optimistic, while Nanon sometimes gets lost in fantasy. With Lilith also in the mix, things can get even more confusing, adding an extra layer of unpredictability. Their relationship is full of sparks, challenges, and a strong pull toward each other. They push each other's limit but also help each other grow. If they learn to balance the passion with patience, they can create something truly special. Moving over to their composite chart, the chart of the relationship itself. The predominant element in this chart is air, with water and fire missing. This relationship is built on intellect, communication, and a strong mental connection, but it may struggle with emotional depth and passion due to the lack of fire and water. The Sun in Aquarius conjunct asteroid Cupido suggests an unconventional, exciting relationship with a magnetic pull. There's a sense of freedom, friendship, and a shared vision for the future. Astrology's rebel Uranus is also in Aquarius in their composite chart, meaning that their relationship is full of surprises. Maybe they met in an unconventional or unexpected way, and their relationship will go through a lot of changes. Uranus conjunct asteroid Juno in Aquarius reinforces the idea of an unpredictable, non-traditional bond. Commitment exists, but it thrives on independence. They may reject traditional roles, preferring a dynamic, evolving partnership. Without knowing their exact birth time, I don't know the placement of their individual moon, but the composite moon is probably in Libra, meaning that emotional harmony is important. They seek balance, fairness, and companionship. They work best when they both feel emotionally understood. Venus in Pisces brings idealism and a dreamy quality. There's a deep, almost spiritual connection, but they may struggle with unrealistic expectations. Mars in Cancer, in opposition to Mercury in Capricorn, shows a tension between emotions and logic. Disagreements may arise when one of them acts emotionally while the other one responds with practicality or restraint. They need to find a balance between expressing feelings and being rational. Ohm and Nanon have a grand trine in their composite chart, formed by Jupiter-Saturn in Taurus, the Victory asteroid Nike in Virgo, and Lilith in Capricorn. It suggests a strong sense of purpose together. They can achieve success as a team with a mix of practicality, ambition, and determination. Lilith's influence also adds an element of mystery, rebellion, or taboo attraction. Besides the Mercury-Mars opposition that could lead to tensions, I see another aspect that can become very challenging: their Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in Taurus. On the positive side, it gives stability. They can build something long-lasting, though it may take some time. There's a mix of optimism and realism in how they approach the relationship. But there's also a negative side. Jupiter symbolizes expansion and growth, while Saturn represents rigid structures and limitations. I see this conjunction as a pressure cooker. Jupiter is like the boiling water in that pot. It brings a lot of energy that needs to be released and expand. Meanwhile, Saturn is the lead, keeping all the energy inside the pot. The question is what happens if that energy is never released or if it's released all at once. The Jupiter-Saturn conjunction also squares Uranus, adding unpredictability. OhmNanon may go through phases of stability and sudden change. They need to embrace flexibility to avoid feeling stuck. Overall, this relationship is a mix of mental stimulation, deep understanding, and long-term potential, but they need to work on balancing emotions and handling sudden changes without damaging their bond. As Ohm and Nanon fans know, the two indeed clashed and parted ways. What happened between Ohm and Nanon is probably the biggest mystery in BL history, and of course I tried to find out if I can explain it using astrology and if there is any chance for them to work together again. Here is what I can see in their horoscopes and how I interpret it. Please understand that this is just my interpretation without having enough information to completely understand the situation. I would need their exact birth time in order to have all the details, but unfortunately I don't have that information. If you know of any live videos or interviews where they themselves talked about their birth time, please let me know in the comments and I would make a follow-up video just about their breakup. GMM officially announced Ohm and Nanon's separation as a love team on the 31st of July 2024. But the famous fight that led to their falling out was on the 18th of May 2022 at the Maya Entertain Awards. That day was filled with intense emotions, misunderstandings, and deep changes in their relationship. The biggest triggers came from Saturn and Uranus, which brought tensions, limits, and sudden disruptions. Saturn was in a hard aspect to their Venus, the planet of love, making them feel distant, pressured, or even questioning their connection. It might have felt like something was holding them back from expressing their feelings freely. At the same time, transit Uranus was shaking things up, challenging the stability of their bond. This energy could have made one or both of them feel restless, frustrated, or in need of space. Pluto was also working in the background opposing their Mars, which likely led to power struggles or built up anger coming to the surface. This transit can make emotions boil over, leading to an argument where neither person wants to back down. There might have been a feeling of one trying to control the other or past frustrations exploding all at once. At this point, I want to mention their individual charts. Nanon's horoscope for that day had tons of challenging aspects, suggesting tensions and frustration. If it wasn't for the fight with Ohm, he would have had a fight with some other person, or in the worst case, maybe an accident because of his restlessness and inner turmoil. Talking about frustration, let's now remember an aspect in Ohm's birth chart that I said would play an important role. That clash between Mars and Pallas Athena that makes him suppress his frustration out of consideration for other people. On the day of their fight, it maybe all came out. In Ohm's horoscope for that day, I see conflicts and the need for independence or personal freedom, but interestingly enough, also a lot of positive aspects. You can hate me if you want, but it's my opinion as an astrologer that this fight had positive effects for Ohm on the long term. We don't know what triggered the fight, but I believe that there were many other things piling up and that all the frustration came to the surface on that day or maybe a few days after this event. To make things worse, Mercury was retrograde at that time, which is never ideal for communication. It was also activating their Jupiter and Saturn, making small misunderstandings feel much bigger than they really were. Words may have been misinterpreted or past issues that seemed resolved resurfaced. However, Mercury was also in some positive aspects, suggesting that despite the conflict, there was still a chance to talk things through. Mars trine Mercury helped them express their frustration clearly, even if emotions were running high. There were also some other positive transits like Chiron trine their Sun and Jupiter supporting their Mars. These energies suggest that even though the fight was intense, there was an opportunity for healing and learning. Deep down, this wasn't just about the argument itself, it was about growth, facing truths, and understanding what needed to change. Lastly, with Saturn conjunct their Juno, the asteroid of commitment, this moment was a test. It forced them to reflect on whether their relationship was strong enough to last through challenges. It wasn't just a random fight, something deeper was shifting, pushing them to decide how they wanted to move forward. In my opinion, they didn't just end things out of an impulse. The fight itself might have happened in the heat of the moment, but I believe that they managed to speak about their feelings and then decided to go separate ways. As strange as it may sound, and I know OhmNanon shippers won't be happy about it, but even the horoscope for the 31st of July, the day of the official announcement, shows that their breakup was hurtful, but in the end a positive thing for both of them, because it allows them to grow and evolve. Even for the relationship itself, it was a positive thing. Who knows, maybe at a later time they will reconcile and having learned from the past, they will have a more mature and balanced relationship. I don't want to get my or your hopes up, but I believe that their relationship will improve in the future. For the time being, there are still many tensions and hurtful aspects, and I would say it's actually better for them to avoid communicating. We had that beautiful OhmNanon moment at the Starlympics event in December 2024, but at that time there were no major transit that could trigger a bigger change. A shift could come in July 2025, we might even get some news about them together. But even if something goes public and it's positive news from the fans' perspective, I think that the time is not right yet. They are not ready yet, they still have to solve some things between them. If they are being pressured into doing something together again, it could backfire. But then in August 2026, Jupiter blesses their relationship. In 2026 and 2027, Saturn also helps them to re-evaluate what happened and to decide if they want to give their relationship another chance. A huge change will come between 2031 and 2033. That will be a longer process that will deeply change their relationship. This would coincide with the 10-year anniversary of Bad Buddy. If by then they are still in the entertainment industry and still haven't had new projects together, I wouldn't wonder if this was the time for their comeback as a love team. I think about something similar to what Christ and Singto from the BL Classic Sotus are doing now with their new series The X Morning. This is all I can tell you about OhmNanon without knowing their exact time of birth. I hope you enjoyed the video and please also check the next one. I will talk about Bilkin and Pipi Crit. And I'm also working on a video about First and Kotang. Subscribe to my channel and turn the notifications on if you don't want to miss those videos. Until the next time, shine bright like the stars.